What is up, guys? Thank you so much for being here. So today I'm reviewing the CMMG Banshee and just talking about how I chose to set mine up. So the way that you see it right now, it obviously doesn't have a brace on it due to the new ATF rule. I just have this Strike Industries buffer tube because I figured if I have to say goodbye to the brace and I still want it to look cool, so hopefully sometime soon in the future we'll be back with a new brace. But with that being said, all the footage that you're gonna see of me shooting it was prior to that rule. And also, if you guys wanna know like all the nitty gritty about how this gun functions and what makes it different than like your typical AR9 and what makes it a little bit better, then you'll have to watch my other video, because in that video I talked about what this gun is and exactly the details that make it unique. Today we're mostly just gonna focus on the actual accessories and why I chose what I chose and why I think that they're good options. And also just, you know, my opinion on the gun, because I've shot probably close to 1,000 rounds. So reliability and shooting experience, I can honestly say that I just love this thing. Like I mentioned, I shot close to 1,000 rounds, at least 850, and I literally did not have a single malfunction other than the first couple of rounds that I ever shot. When I put the very first mag in, I wasn't using a Glock mag, I was using like one of those clear ETS mags. And I also wasn't using like your standard FMJ, I was shooting hollow points. And so I don't know if for some reason that combination on the very first mag just kind of made it hiccup. But basically I had a stovepipe, I cleared it and it continued to shoot fine after that. And I literally haven't had even the small smidgen of a malfunction ever since. And I've also used the same clear ETS mags again, along with like your factory Glock mags. And I've shot FMJ, but I've also shot those hollow points again, and I haven't had any issues since. I feel 100% confident that this gun is super reliable. And as for the rest of the shooting experience, because obviously the reliability is number one, when it comes to like the actual comfort of shooting, these things are known to have less recoil than most AR9s out there. From everything I've heard, most AR9s have a fairly like violent recoil, not crazy, but just like maybe equal to your average AR-15. But this thing definitely has less than that, because I used to own a down defense AR and it didn't have bad recoil by any means, but this definitely has less. And when you see me shooting it, it may look like it has a decent amount of recoil, but that's just because I only weigh 135 pounds, so everything kind of comes across that way with me. All right, getting into the accessories, I'm gonna go ahead and start with the front, and then we'll end with the trigger, which is probably my favorite add-on. So the flashlight right up here is the Streamlight TLR RM1. And the reason I chose it is because, for one, you have such a small handguard here, which is just how it's gonna be when you have a small compact gun like this, but you need something that's not gonna get in your way. And the way I have this thing set up is just so perfect, because it looks like it gets in the way of the red dot, but it actually doesn't. You don't see it at all through the window. It's just the right height to where it sits just under the window there. And so when I go to use it, I just put my thumb on top and I'm still squeezing the gun from top and bottom. If you did have to use this in the dark and you're stressed out, you don't want something that's super complicated. Two options. If I hold it, it stays on, and then when I let go, it turns off. Or I can just click it once and then go back to my strong grip and it just stays on until I click it again. So it's kind of nice. If you just want momentary, you hold it and let go, or you click it on and you can go, you know, clear your house or do whatever you need to do. But I mostly like using the momentary on, because I mean, if you're walking around with a light on, then you're also kind of an easy target. So you just kind of use it when you need to see something real quick. It'll just flash real quick and then turn it off. That's just how I like to use it. I'm not an expert, but I do like that it has those two very simple options. And of course, it's also O-ring sealed, so you shouldn't have any issues in the rain. as I was actually in the range shooting this in the dark, and it worked flawlessly. So, you know, I feel pretty confident with that. As for my red dot and mount system, I mean, this was pretty much my dream setup right here. And I'll explain why, because it's so small and compact, and that's kind of the whole point. The whole point of having a small AR9 like this is to have something that's small and compact, and I just want this thing for close distances, you know, personal defense, defending your family, your home, and just having fun at the range. And I feel like with a red dot, you can really do drills where you're shooting a little bit quicker. Not that I'm a super fast shooter, but you know, it just makes it a little bit easier to transition targets than having even a little bit of magnification. Plus I just feel like the 9mm cartridge, it excels better within those, you know, 50 to 100 yards anyways. So why not kind of optimize the whole setup to really give you an advantage within those 100 yards. So the red dot that I chose is the Holosun 509, but with the APS-C Vulcan reticle. And if you don't know what that is, basically it's a little chevron with a giant circle around it. And if you have the chevron, like, you know, on target, in theory, that large circle shouldn't even show because it's outside the window, you won't even see it. So this is mostly meant for handguns, because when you draw your handgun, lots of times, say you're slightly off, that circle, then part of that circle shows, and your brain is just like faster to react to knowing which direction you need to go to get your reticle on target. But I don't even use that feature because I just don't need it. That's something that you need more for handguns. Typically there's a little bit more error when you're drawing and aiming a handgun than there is with a rifle. I knew that when I bought this, but I also knew that you can just turn that outer circle off. But it's still nice knowing that I have that option in case I ever decide to put something else on here and put this on a handgun. The reason I really like this for this setup is because it's fully sealed with 2 windows, so nothing's gonna get in the way of your reticle. If something got on the window, it's a lot easier to see through that or to wipe it off than if something got on the actual emitter. Also, again, this thing's very small and compact and lightweight. It's also super sturdy. I have another one of these that I've really done a good amount of shooting with and testing on another little rifle setup. And that one has a different reticle, but the reason I chose this one is because I really like that chevron for that quick acquisition and again, quick decision making. This is quick decision making, simple flashlight, doesn't take a lot of extra thought. And the way that the chevron works is basically you zero it so that the tip, the very top tip of the chevron is for 25 yards, and then the bottom of the chevron will hit at 100. And I've tested it out and it actually does work great. It's super accurate, and when you do aim with the bottom of the chevron at 100 yards, I'm hitting steel. So I'm happy about that. A couple other features that make this red dot really nice. For one, it has 50,000 hour battery life, which is obviously really nice. You've got 2 little buttons on the side to be able to quickly make it brighter or less bright. It has auto on, and so basically if it feels any movement, it turns on. So if you did have this by your bedside and you needed to use it in a really stressful situation, you don't want to pick up something where you have to then fumble with trying to turn on the reticle. And so this automatically shuts off after 15 minutes of being absolutely still. And so it's not just gonna shut off in the car, obviously, if you're driving to the range, or, you know, it has to be completely still for 15 minutes and then it turns off. But then that's really nice because if you forget to turn it off, then the next time you go to use it, it might be dead or whatever. Probably take a little while, but still, you don't have to worry about that because it's always saving battery, and then when you go to pick it up, it automatically turns on, and I've never had it not work. And then if for some reason you did run out of battery, you also have a solar panel on the top that's also storing energy, and so that can keep you going until you are able to get another battery. And when it comes time to actually change the battery, it's very simple. Some, like RMRs and other red dots, you have to remove the whole thing and put the battery from underneath. And I just don't like the idea of that at all, because for one, it's just more work, and for two, you might have to re-zero it. It might not be exactly how you had it. This guy just has a little screw here, and it comes with a tool, and I keep the tool in the hand grip, or in the pistol grip, because down below has a little pocket, and so I keep it in here. So I'll pull that little tool out, unscrew this, and then the little tray comes out. You know, I keep an extra battery in here as well. So luckily I haven't had to use it yet, and I've been shooting this thing for over a year now, but I think it's gonna take longer than that for this thing to run out. So when it does, quick, easy replacement, and then you're good to go. As for the mount that it's on, this is the ScalaWorks Leap mount, and it is a quick detach. And at first I was like really wanting to try one, but I was also a little bit skeptical because of how the mounting system works. Most quick detach mounts that I've used in the past, like I've used American Defense mount, they're very beefy, they're super strong, and you know, they're just kind of heavy, but they have like an actual latch system where you can feel that thing really tightening down. And so the fact that this one just has this little wheel, and you basically just crank this wheel until it's tight, and they say you only do it hand tight, so you don't need to get a special tool or anything like that. You just go until this little wheel is as tight as you can get it with your thumb, and then they say that you're good to go. It's not gonna come loose. I don't know the engineering behind this, but basically it really cranks it down well, and it's good to go. And so like I said, at first I was a little bit skeptical because it just didn't seem like it would be strong enough. I've shot now hundreds and hundreds of rounds. I haven't had to make a single adjustment, and it's kept it zeroed to where I originally zeroed it. And by the way, the mount itself only weighs like 1.5 ounces, but it's made with 7075 T6 aluminum, unlike most accessories out there and other mounts that are made with a 6061 T6 aluminum. And so it's stronger, it's a stronger material. Obviously it's gonna add in the cost, but I think it's absolutely worth it if you just want something that's super, super strong, super reliable, and convenient, and it just looks cool the way that it's all skeletonized. You can see through it and everything. I just really like it a lot, and I think it makes for an ultimate little package for what I was looking for this setup. Moving on to the last and final add-on, which is probably my favorite. It's hard to say because I really do love this part. I love it all, but this trigger is ridiculously nice. It's the Timney PCC trigger. It's a single stage. It's made for your average AR9, which like I said, has a little bit more of a violent recoil system. And so it's meant to be able to handle that wear and tear. So it's a little beefier and stronger. But you know, I put it into one of these anyways, even though I read that you could put a normal AR-15 trigger into this guy because it does have less recoil than most AR9s. But I decided to just go with this one anyways. And let me tell you guys, this thing is ridiculously nice. I've owned some pretty nice triggers in the past. I had a really nice Apex trigger in my M&P Shield, which is a pretty good upgraded trigger. But of course that was for my carry gun, so I didn't want it to be too light. I believe that one was at about 4.5 pound break. This guy right here is a 2.5 pound break, but it's not just, you know, a light pull. It's also just super crisp. I go to pull, right? And I just barely I start to squeeze, there's no movement, and then it breaks. I'm gonna keep my finger on the trigger as I let go. There, it probably moved maybe 1 millimeter. I'm gonna squeeze, there's no movement whatsoever. It's literally like a complete wall. And when I put enough pressure, 2.5 pounds, it just breaks. There's like almost no over travel. I've never pulled a trigger nicer than this. Of course, this is single stage. This is meant more for shooting quickly and up close. And this whole setup for me, like I said kind of from the beginning, is just to be lightweight, quick, and for short distances. And that's how I've optimized everything. And so the trigger just kind of is the cherry on top. And now the only thing that can improve is me as a shooter, because at this point, this is as good as it gets, at least in my opinion. So just the better that I get, the more that I'm optimizing all the tools that I have on here. And the last thing that I want to mention about the trigger is that it was very simple to put in. It's basically just a complete housing that you just drop right in. I found a video online and you just pull out the old hammer and then you put in that whole housing and you tighten down a couple little screws. I think it came with the tool as well. And yeah, you know, they claim to be the best triggers. Even though I haven't shot them all out there, This thing is just ridiculously nice. And I personally appreciate that they put a little godly message inside the package. I thought that was really cool of them. With all that being said, I just want to thank you so much for watching till the end. I really appreciate it. And if you like this kind of content, like anything that has to do with guns, backpack reviews, and other gear, definitely hit the like button and subscribe. By doing that, you're kind of fighting against the algorithm, because the algorithm tends to not really promote this kind of content, even though, you know, we're just having a good time, positive, safe gun usage on the channel. And that's what a lot of these gun channels are, just trying to promote the Second Amendment. So you really are making a difference and helping out by doing that. And with that said, I just want to thank you guys again for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.